In this video, we're going to go over solving quadratic equations, and we're going to be using the quadratic formula. Solving quadratic equations involve trying to find the value of x. We're going to be looking for where the formula or graph crosses the x-axis. There are multiple ways of doing it, but in this case, we're only going to focus in using the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula in a standard equation is going to be ax to the second power plus bx plus c. We're going to use the formula x is equal to negative b. This is always going to be negative b. And then we're going to be looking for the positive and the negative. So plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And this is all going to be divided by 2a. So a is going to be the first coefficient wherever the x squared is. B is going to be next to our variable, the coefficient next to the variable with no exponent. And c is going to be the number by itself. Alright, so we are going to solve this problem using the quadratic formula. Once again, I'm going to write the formula on the left hand side so we can use that as a reference. We know that it's going to be x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and everything is going to be divided by 2a. We have a that is equal to 2, so I'm going to make a little note here. A is equal to 2. B is equal to negative 5. So b is equal to negative 5. And lastly, we have c that is equal to 3. C is equal to 3. So we're going to put it into our formula. That means that we're going to do negative b. So again, this is always going to be negative. We have negative, and our b is also negative. So I'm going to put negative 5 in parentheses to make sure that we don't get our signs mixed up. And then we're going to do positive and negative. So plus or minus the square root of b squared. So we have negative 5 squared minus 4a is 2. So 4 times 2. And c is 3. And everything is going to be divided over 2 times 2, 2a. The next portion is just computation. So for this portion, I'm going to take it by parts. The first thing I'm going to be paying attention is this part. We have a negative, negative 5. 2 negatives is going to give me a positive, so I'm just going to put 5. And now we're going to go back to plus or minus. And I'm going to be solving the things inside the square root little by little. The first part is negative 5 to the second power. Negative 5 squared is going to give us 25. Minus, we have 4 times 2. That's going to give us 8. 8 times 3 is going to give us 24. So this is going to be minus 24. And we're going to be dividing this by 4. We can simplify our square root a little bit more. So we're going to do 5 plus or minus 25 minus 24 is going to be the square root of 1. And that is going to be divided by 4. In this case, we actually have a nice number. The square root of 1 is 1. So we can say 5 plus or minus 1 over 4. Now we're going to split this into 2. We're going to do 5 plus 1 over 4. And then we're going to do 5 minus 1 over 4. 5 plus 1 is going to give us 6. 6 over 4. And we can actually simplify this to 3 over 2. In the next case, we have 5 minus 1, which is 4. 4 over 4 is going to give us 1. So we have two solutions. We have x is equal to 3 over 2 and also 1. All right, for example number 2, we're going to test it out once again. In this case, let's use our notes as a reference. We're going to use x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, and everything is going to be divided by 2a. Once again, I'm just going to label the things that we need. We have, in this case, a is going to be 1 because there's a number in front of the x squared. B is going to be negative 6. And the last one, C, is going to be equal to 5. So we're going to put into our formula. We have x is equal to negative 6. Once again, we have a double negative right here. Plus or minus the square root of 6 minus 4ac. And in this case, our a is 1 and our c is 5. And everything is going to be divided by 2 times 1. Once again, I'm going to try to simplify as much as I can. So the double negative for negative 6 is going to be just positive 6 plus or minus, and then we have the square root of 36, and that comes from 6 times 6, minus we have 4 times 1 times 5, and that's going to give us 20. And everything is going to be divided by 2 times 1, so 2. For the next step, we're going to simplify what's inside the parentheses. Inside the square root. So we're going to do 6 plus or minus 36 minus 20 is going to give us 16 divided by 2. In this case, once again, we're going to be getting nicer numbers because the square root of 16 is going to be a whole number. So we get 6 plus or minus 4 over 2. We're going to split the two cases. The first one is going to be 6 plus 4 over 2. 6 plus 4 gives us 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. And the second option is 6 minus 4 over 2. That's going to give us 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. So the solutions for this problem is going to be positive 5 and 1. Example number 3 is slightly different. If you look at the format, we have negative x to the second power plus 4x, and this is going to be equal to positive 13. Now, we need it in the standard form, and that was ax to the second plus bx plus c. And we don't have it in that format. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to move the 13 to the other side. And to do that, the only thing we need to do is subtract a 13 from here and a 13 from here. And that's going to rewrite as negative x squared plus 4x minus 13. And that's going to equal 0. Now that we have that equation, we can actually continue and it's going to be much nicer. All right, now that we have this, again, we're going to label the information that we have. A is going to be -1, B is going to be 4, and C is going to be -13. So in this case, we're going to get x is equal to -4 plus or minus the square root of 4 to the second power minus 4 times -1 times -13. Just careful with your negatives because now we have a bunch of negatives. And then this is going to be divided by 2 times -1. The first portion is going to stay the same because we have -4 and the plus or minus is always the same. Now we're going to work with the things inside the radical. And that's going to be 4 plus or minus 4 to the second power is going to give us 16. Then we need to multiply -4 times -1 times -13. -4 times -1 gives us +4. +4 times -13 is going to give us -52. And everything is going to be divided by -2. In this case, we actually are going to get a number that is going to be negative inside our square root. The 4 stays the same. And when we find the difference between 16 and 52, we get that that's going to be 36. That is the difference, but because it's negative, the 52, we're going to get a negative answer, so -36. And everything's going to be divided by -2. This is where we need to use our complex knowledge. We know that 36 does have a root, but we have a negative, so it's not going to be a real root. So we're going to split this into our imaginary numbers and our real numbers, and we're going to do 4 plus or minus the square root of a negative is going to be just I, and the square root of 36 is going to be 6. So we get 6I. And this is going to be divided by -2. Once again, we're going to split it into two cases. The first one is going to be 4 plus 6I over -2. We cannot combine the 4 and the 6I, but we are able to divide by the -2. So 4 divided by -2, and that's going to give us -2. Positive 6I divided by -2 is going to give us -3I. In the other side, we're going to get 4 minus 6I divided by -2. Once again, we cannot combine the 4 and the -6I. So what we're going to do is split them and divide them individually. That means that we're going to do 4 divided by -2 gives us -2. -6 divided by -2 is going to give us +3. So in this case, our answer is going to be x is equal to -2, 3, -3I, and -2 plus 3I. So those are your two roots. Both of them are imaginary. Now you can use this problem to practice. Pause the video and try to solve this problem. Pause the video and try to solve this problem.